Sweet. So yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm Ed Rants. This is Armour.
Guy
So
is-
me, when it comes to just literary stuff and music stuff, you know, I'm kind of a stickler for it, a bit of a nerd with it. So I decided to say, hey, who's the best lyricist I can get off the top of my head? And here I am with Armour. So he's got his new song, Pop. We're going to talk a bit around it and talk about just how words can mean so much and the literary devices that you didn't think you had to pay attention to in English language class in year 10 are all going to come around and bite you in the ass. So I guess let's start with, what is a literary device?
Cool. Well, a literary device is like a technique or device that's used in writing for like the writer uses these to give the reader an insight on how to digest that information or the best way to get a point across, or you know what I mean, bro? So it's like literary devices are used to get points across and guide readers and guide listeners. You know what I mean?
I think it's people very much look at being articulate and how well you can articulate yourself in different ways. I feel like it's more just, well, can I get across to you what is in my head?
Yeah.
If that's done, then that kind of completes the goal, if that makes sense. It does what it says on the tin.
You know what, bro? Yeah, it kind of reminds me. You see what you just said, yeah? Like it reminds me of a point someone made to me about mixing. Like you know, like making a song sound good.
Yeah.
So like, there's two different types of mixes that the person said to me. Yeah, there's like a clean mix, which is just making everything sound clear and listenable, and then there's also the creative mix, which is like taking it to that next level to make it sound a bit more interesting rather than just clean. So I feel like that's the difference between just getting your point across. Like, you know, when you draw a parallel between what I'm saying and like just getting your point across and saying it straight up will be like a clean mix. But then using literary devices will be like the equivalent of a creative mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think when everyone talks about that kind of how to get something across in a more interesting way, everyone always goes for a punchline. Yeah. But I always feel like rapping is like comedy. The punchline is only as good as it's set up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No,
so like in terms of how you set up a punchline, do you think of the punchline first, or are you writing and then the punchline comes to you?
Usually, basically, I would say I think of them first, but there's some off chances where I'm writing and it will just come to me. And it's like, yeah, it's been delivered and I'm delivering that message. Yeah. And but sometimes I premeditate them and I think of them and I'll just write them down like, yeah, cool, I thought of this punchline today. Next time I go to write, I might incorporate it. So it's like I'm already anticipating using it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like before the listener hears it, I've already mapped out how I want them to receive it. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like when I think of someone who's always been really good at punchline setup, I always think of P.S. It's Good, weirdly enough.
Yeah, you know what? I can't lie. In the drill scene, like, bro, he's actually got sick punchlines, to be fair, man.
I feel
good
like
name to mention.
Even then, I do like making comparisons of how rapping is very similar to so many other forms of media. I feel like rapping is also very similar to movies. So the song Hold On, for example, I feel like it functions like a narrative in the same way a story usually does. It's got a plot twist. It describes characters in various different ways. Is that kind of how you approach that song as well?
You know what? That's sick that you drew all of that from that, because that kind of happened by accident. That wasn't like so intentional. It was more about like the roles of different females in my life. So yeah, kind of in a way. So yeah, the different female characters that are being played in my life, I guess. So yeah, it's half and half. Yeah, half intentional.
I feel like in terms of just a lot of the devices that you get from film, you can use a lot of them in songs anyway in terms of how you songwrite. So you can build tension, for example. Yeah. You can use plot twists, for example. I feel like one of my favorite plot twists in any rap song is probably Cass is Dead. Oh, what's the goddamn song now?
Hey, your references are so sick, bro.
It's like, it's basically Charlotte. That's the song.
Okay.
What he did for that music video, I think is just nuts. Hold on, I paint a picture for you. So basically, he's rapping about this girl called Charlotte that supposedly he's been on dates with, and then he randomly starts rapping about cutting her up into bits, and you think he's describing gruesome murder. And at the very end, the last line of the song is, or how when he set it up as how he's about to get arrested and they're going to look in the boot of his car and you're expecting to find this chopped up woman in there. And he ends it saying, well, all the cunt could do me for is possession. The entire song was a metaphor for cocaine, and he used her as the name Charlotte. He kind of sprinkled in like small little tidbits of information, like some clues, like I used to cheat with Mandy on the sly, which was kind of gives it up. And I feel like it would be interesting to see how many of those you could ever attempt to use. Have you ever tried like thinking about it in that sort of way? Because I feel like if you try and think about it in a different medium, you're going to come up with all sorts of wacky ideas.
Yeah, no, to be fair, with the song Pop, for example, like my thing was, cool, I'm going to use a lot of alliteration, a lot of anaphora, epistrophe and that. But to be fair, that was the first time in a long time where I've chose a literary device and said, yeah, you know what, I'm going to revolve the whole song around this device. Actually, no, you know what, my Who's Got Bars freestyle, that was like metaphor heavy, you know what I'm saying? But to be fair, nah, not what Cass is Dead has done. You know what, I'm going to do that next though. I'm actually going to do that still.
I feel like going on to pop with the alliteration and stuff, I feel like a lot of what's interesting about rap is kind of the syntax and kind of how it sounds. So like if you have like on a song Pop, the alliteration makes it really stabby.
You know,
so it kind of helps the flow.
Sorry to cut you, You know, to take you back to that Cass is Dead example, what literary device would you say he's using? Because when I heard it, I'm thinking, cool, this is like an anecdote, it's a metaphor, he's using something to describe something else. But you know what? The more I'm thinking about it, it's actually like a high level of personification. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's all of those wrapped into one. He's personified cocaine with a street name being Charlotte, but then in terms of how he set up the story, it's as if he's dating an actual woman. That's what he's led you to believe, which is why the plot twist works. So it's so many bundled into one.
Similar to K Coke with the gun and Tupac with same thing, innit?
I think personification has always been an interesting device, and rappers have used it a lot. To like a gun as a wife, for example. That's used in a lot of different punchlines.
100%.
Like I find it interesting how a lot of rappers can rap in the most creative way about guns. Weirdly enough, like the amount of creative punchlines and songs that have come just about guns.
Bro, what's your favorite punchline, man, that comes to mind, like ever? Do you have one?
Either Cass is Dead, Hose on Me because I look like Banksy, but no one knows who Banksy is because he wears a mask. That's why I feel like that's just cheeky. And then Gets on his Daily Duppy. It's like doing a 3-point turn in the desert. That's a pointless move.
Literally, it's a good one.
Because even then, just the visualization of that line just makes it even more ridiculous.
Literally. You have to think about it to realize, okay, he's actually being so stupid right now.
It's like, you're just taking a piss. And I feel like when we look at a lot of rappers that are very lyrical, I think Dave has this problem. It's not necessarily his problem, but it's more the fan base. It means that everyone scans every single sentence that you say and expecting it to mean something, which is why people can draw things that aren't really there. I think when people looked in that Kendrick Drake beef, everyone was drawing stuff from Kendrick's bars, seemingly out of thin air, because everyone's so focused on being very hyper lyrical.
Now, you know, my boy Stretch is like that as well. Like where the lyrics are so ambiguous, kind of. You know what I'm saying? They're ambiguous, so it's like listeners draw their own conclusions about what's being said and what it means, and it's like, it's interesting when you have listeners that have different ideas about what they think is being said. You know what I'm saying?
I actually think it's a device in of itself. I think it's mystery. I think it's done. Some rappers do it on purpose. I feel like they've thrown that bar in. It's like, it's ambiguous on purpose. Think whatever you want of it. It could be like 3 different things, and however you want to interpret it is however you want to interpret it. I think maybe sometimes some meaning comes from it that you didn't even think of, but somebody else pulled it out. So now that's what it means.
Literally.
It almost like has a life of its own.
You know what, bro? Sometimes, even when I'm writing, this might sound a bit weird, but I feel like that often. Like sometimes I say something and I even question myself, like, yo, why did you say it like that? Or, why did you, like, do you get what I'm saying? Because it might be something that doesn't even make sense to me straight away, but it feels right. It feels like that's what it needs to be. And then later down the line, it unfolds to make sense somehow. You know what I'm saying? Interesting, man. That's another conversation. But I do think it's like, there's some I don't know, man. There's some kind of spirituality or messages or something behind all of this stuff.
I
Yeah.
feel like, interesting enough, we've kind of started talking about how you write and what a mindset of writing is. So here's a question that I tend to like asking rappers. Which of these three do you write first? Do you write flows first? Do you write rhyming patterns first? Or do you write lyrics?
With me, my flows are quite reliant on my rhyming patterns.
Okay.
So for me, like they kind of fit under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
But in terms of which one I go for first, it can change. I don't really have one. Like it depends. I feel like if I was to kind of like put it into different categories, I feel like when I go to write, I either go off the vibe, and if I go off the vibe, more time than it's with the flows and the rhyme schemes and that. But sometimes I go in with the thought of saying something intentionally,
Yeah.
and then it's like flows come after,
Yeah.
and it's more about what
Flows
I'm
is how you piece it together.
Yeah.
And then you got the rhyme schemes, and you think, okay, what other slick ways of saying what I have to say can I come up with? And that's where you kind of add like small little tidbits of metaphors, etc., etc. Because I think it's interesting because when Body came out and there was that snippet of Tion Wayne in the studio of him just humming a flow out. That's why I ask. Because Tion, it sounds like he writes flows first.
Yeah, of course.
Some people think of a rhyme scheme and let the rhyme scheme write the song for them, if that makes sense.
It's so weird. You know, when that little clip got leaked, I found it so interesting how many people were amazed by that.
Yeah.
I was like, what, right? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Because to me, as a rapper, it's like,
that makes sense.
That's normal. Like, people have been doing that before Tion and after Tion. Like, it's normal. But it's like, it just reminded me that people that don't take part in the craft, they don't see that.
Don't really see the angles.
Yeah, so for them, that's like the first exposure to them of someone's process. You know what I mean?
I think it's really interesting because, funnily enough, I found Michael Jackson's demos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he hums out all of his melodies.
Yeah.
He doesn't write anything, and sometimes he'll like record himself beatboxing what the drums will be in some instruments. And that's how he starts his kind of writing process. So it could be really interesting how like very abstract some people's writing process is. Even though it's something very word heavy, you're not even thinking about the words first. Which just kind of brings me to my next point. Like tone of voice, does that like play a part for you in terms of how you write things? Like, is it something like, okay, I want this sort of tone here because I'm talking about this sort of thing, so it brings up these sorts of feelings?
You know what? It's weird that you asked that because now that I'm thinking about it, I actually do.
Yeah.
I do like intentionally think about it, but it's more kind of subconscious decisions.
Yeah.
Rather than like crazy intentional. But I must do though, because when I go after, like let's say I write first and then record after. I already go to the mic knowing what tones I want to use.
What kind of feel it has.
Yeah, so that must mean I've already half thought about it when I've been writing it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
so.
And I feel like it's actually the next question I want to ask. Is lyricism, is it art or science? Art is something that you feel. Science is almost something you do and you research and you meticulously plan. Do you think it's a bit of both? Do you think it's one or the other?
You know what? I think both are relevant and both are important and they both exist. You know what I mean? Like, I think when I first started like rapping, I was like doing it mainly on grime, like a spitter, bro. Like, you know, spitters, MCs. And you know, to me, the way my mind works, it was more scientific and mathematic. It was more noticing patterns and sequences. And that's how I would write. It wouldn't be more about like the feeling and the vibe. Like, I feel like the feeling and the vibe part is the more art stuff, and the more intentionally constructed stuff is more the science behind it. You know what I mean? So I feel like I started off I started being good at it because of the science behind it.
Yeah.
But the passion of the art of it helped me explore and make that more of, like, take it away from being a spitting thing to being more of an artist and making actual songs. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, I don't know how you'd feel about this, so this is another discussion, but it's similar as well though, Like rapping, you're delivering messages all the time, innit? Rapping is about like, usually like what it started with is
Yeah.
delivering messages,
Yeah.
right? And telling stories and getting points across. But a lot of music in general is like
How it feels.
feeling based.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how it can make you feel, how it can make you move, what kind of mood
Yeah.
and energy and frequency it can put you
Yeah.
in. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like when you're rapping with a message, I feel like that's more the I would compare that to more the science part of it.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And the feeling of it, I feel like that whole input of the vibe that you're putting into music is the more artistic side.
Yeah. I feel like you can't really have one without the other, because everyone that's listened to a rapper is like, yeah, you clearly have something to say, but I don't feel anything when I listen to this. It's almost like I feel like I'm in a lecture hall and the teacher is like telling me what to think.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's like you're talking at me rather than to me.
You know what, bro? There's different kinds of listeners, man. For some people that works. Some people like they like that kind of music. Like I know some people, they don't care about, like they don't feel vibes off a song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For them, they just want to be like intellectually challenged by the music that they listen to.
I feel like you can do both at the same time, and if you're a good rapper, you can do both.
Yeah, no, 100.
Like Absol and like most of TDE were always great. Jid is great.
Yeah,
I feel like you can do both. I mean, Lupe Fiasco's always been great. Kano's always been great.
Yeah, Kano's a good example.
So it's one of those ones where I think you kind of have to have both. You can't really neglect one or the other.
Yeah, no, 100. I feel like all the greats are in the Venn diagram of fitting in the middle of
in
that.
the middle.
Yeah.
Because the problem is sometimes when people get too obsessed with the science, we get discussions like, oh yeah, but it doesn't really rhyme. That's kind of like a half rhyme, and that rhyming scheme doesn't quite work. But art is in its imperfections.
Yeah.
It's not this very rigid thing. It's like you have to do an A, B rhyme, 4-bar rhyme structure for every verse, and it has to be 16 bars.
You know what, bro? Maybe like slightly controversial opinion, yeah. Like I feel like Eminem is a good example of this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when a lot of people were really into Eminem,
yeah,
he was displaying a lot of skills, literary devices, like literally every literary device I can probably think of.
Yeah.
I've seen Eminem display in his music somehow, some way. But it's like when people was really fucking with him, it was like being really vulnerable.
Yeah.
He was like expressing a lot, and bro, like you could really feel who he is as a person and a character. And I feel like when people got disconnected from him, it's like all the skills and the science was still there, but it's like the feeling was gone.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a perfect example of that.
I feel like with Eminem specifically, it's very much like, well, he ran out of things to rap about. You're in a good place. You're in a label. You're pretty rich. Your daughter's fine. You've made up with your mom.
Yeah, you're not doing drugs no more.
You're not hooked on drugs. You're sober now. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you're boring, man.
Yeah, like the strong feelings and all these different themes you had in your life that you could rap about, they're just not there anymore. So now you're just like, pronouns are garbage and the world is bad. It's just like,
you know what, bro? Yeah, I feel like this is like a challenge for every artist. Yeah, which is like, when you move on from one phase of your life,
one phase in life to the other,
to the other, you have to understand your new phase. Do you get what I'm saying? Before you can really express it and deliver it to people in an interesting way. Because I feel like if you're a proper artist, every phase of your life you should be able to
map out where you are. In a sense.
Map it out and deliver it in an interesting and good way that people appreciate and understand. But I feel like when you enter a new phase in life, it's hard to, well, for me personally, it's hard to digest it straight away.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? You need some time to understand where you're at before you can relay it properly to other people. Do you get what I mean?
I think in a way, the LA artists are now just saying like, I've constantly got to make music. I constantly have to be a booth.
Yeah, no, I feel it as well. So
I feel like sometimes it could be your own undoing. I think sometimes that can actually hurt you rather than help you, because like you said, you need a minute to process this new era of life that you're going into and then figure out, okay, now I'm ready to take that into the booth. Because a lot of people very much have the, I'm going to go in the booth and grind out 15 songs. But all 15 of those songs, your head is probably going to be in the same place. So those songs are going to be very similar.
No, of course. Bro, I'm guilty of it as well, man. Like, you know, when I came out of prison, I was making a lot of music about being in prison, selling drugs, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And basically, like, a lot of things were happening in my life and in my mind that were much bigger than that.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? But I was like autopilot mode.
Yeah.
Into the studio, just writing about being in prison and selling drugs.
Because that was a lot of your life at the time.
Yeah, but
even as it was shifting forward, that was where your mind
but it wasn't though. It's just it was the last phase of my life.
Okay,
that I was just kind of fixated onto. I wasn't taking.
You felt stuck there.
Yeah, I felt kind of, yeah. I would expressively, like creatively, I was stuck there. You know what I mean? But it's like it took me time to catch up with more where I'm at now. So I feel like the music I'm making now is much more relevant and current to my current mind state and situation. Do you get what I'm saying? But yeah, it took a while. So like even people like Eminem and I fully get it, man.
Yeah.
So any artist and creative, man, it's like it's a real just balancing the science and the art.
Yeah,
is a job within itself.
I think it's interesting how your environment very much expects your environment very much affects how you use language, specifically in rap music.
Yeah.
So like for example, if you're in jail, for example, your language is going to be a bit more bleak and aggressive because that's the world you're surrounded in. Like, did you find that maybe like your vocabulary somewhat shifted as you were in a different place in life, things like that? Did you ever find anything on that line?
Yeah, and you know what? It's something that I actually like challenge myself about quite a lot. I feel like naturally, when you hear people speak or rap, you can kind of get a rough idea about where they're from.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? From the accent, the dialect, like the word, the choice of words, the structure of their sentences.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like being surrounded by so many road people. You know what I'm saying? Being in the hood, being in prison, I feel like it's rubbed off on my vocabulary a lot, and it actually bothers me. I can't lie. So when I speak to people that's like not really from that background, sometimes I find it harder to adjust.
Yeah.
To just like a more universal way of speaking. Yeah. Like, not universal, but you know what I mean, innit? Just something that everyone can understand.
Yeah, because like code switching is something that we do in language all the time.
Yeah.
So like you don't, I wouldn't speak here in the same way as if I'm going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in the office. It's not quite the same. But here's an interesting question. Do you feel like you code switch when you rap?
No, I don't. But I do feel like I need to be more comfortable with code switching because I feel like good artists are able to tell stories from different perspectives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which might mean like from a perspective which is not their own.
Yeah.
They're not their own day-to-day perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like I see that as a talent, like a talented artist can do that. You know what I mean? And if you can't do that, it's like you're kind of limiting your art and you're limiting what your audience gets to experience.
Yeah, it's the one-dimensional problem, right?
Yeah. But I think it's like a practice thing. I think it's a reflection thing. Like I'll be real, man. I feel like being an artist has so many responsibilities other than just putting out the art. You know what I'm saying? You actually have to take the time to kind of get comfortable with your art and who you are and what you want your art to portray. You know what I mean? So like there's a lot of angles to it, I feel like. Yeah.
I feel like the way in which you want to put something across very much depends on the kind of person you are. Because sometimes if you're a very straightforward person, you're not going to go really crazy with the vocabulary and that sort of stuff. It's like you can be quite lyrical, but still with quite basic vocabulary. You're not using the most complicated or unheard of or rare words. It's almost like some rappers don't want to make you feel like you have to Google every other bar to understand what it means.
Bro, you know what? To be fair, I feel like the fact that there's such a wide like spectrum of like people getting their point across just in a straightforward way, people going around the houses and all of that to get their point across, people being ambiguous, people like, for example, the Charlotte song where you use one thing to describe another, people with like wide vocabulary and people with a limited vocabulary. I feel like all of this stuff is important. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's different kinds of music, there's different kind of listeners, there's different like contexts and scenarios where you might enjoy things at different times and differently. And there's so many different people out here, bro. You know what I'm saying? Different people are into different stuff. So you're right, like there is some rappers that you need to pull out the dictionary. You need to you need to get your vocabulary up to scratch to be able to understand what they're saying and appreciate them properly, which is sick. And then there's some which are also getting strong messages across with very simple vocabulary. And there's also people that's got simple vocabulary that's not saying much. And there's also people with big words that's not saying much. You know what I'm saying, bro?
I think when we come to big words not saying much, I think we come to the problems of what lyricism can be when people focus so much on the science part. I think the lyrical miracle thing is very much being a stereotype that very much, it does stem from a moment of truth, where it's sometimes you're so focused on it rhyming with all these big ass words, you forget that you are supposed to actually say
something, innit?
You know, how do you feel like someone gets to that point?
Which point?
How does someone get to be a lyrical miracle rapper? How do you think that happens?
What do you mean, like to a point where you're using skill but you're not saying much, or you're using skill but you're saying something? What, you're not saying?
How do you get to the point where you've got all the skills but you have nothing to say? How do you think someone gets there?
I think a few things, man. I think like not checking in with yourself, getting burnt out, being overly fixated with sounding and appearing to be good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of an egotistical thing as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, obviously everyone's different. So I'm sure there's like different routes to get into that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I can imagine, yes, those are probably the main things. You know what I mean? Like probably overproducing, being burnt out, not tapping in with yourself, like not like you know what I mean by tapping like self-awareness, just checking in with yourself.
Just self-reflection, like what is going on in your life right now. And how can that be something I can rap?
And like, what is my why? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Because like, why am I doing this? What am I saying? Why am I saying it? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, just simple as that. I feel like when you let go of those things, it's an autopilot thing, isn't it? You know what I mean, bro?
Yeah. I feel like this gets me to touch on one of my worst tropes when it comes to rapping, and I think it's really bad in the UK. It's rappers who rap about how really good they are at rapping.
Yeah, rapping about rapping.
Do you know what?
Rapping about rapping.
It's too much.
That's a lot of people's pet peeve.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah,
how do you feel about it?
You know what? I hate it too. You know what? I don't hate it.
I can do a 16 or a 32.
I don't like it. I like it if it's with like if that's what you're speaking about, so that's why you're speaking about it. Like if it's got intention and purpose, then I get it. And if not, then it's a bit of a cop out. It's a bit like you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But I'm guilty of it as well. I've done it as well. So, but I've done it, but I've also shunned it and taken the piss out of it.
Yeah. And I feel like I do like the brag aspect of it that you throw in there every once in a while.
Yeah.
Right? There's like, I am really good at rapping, but for the next 16 bar, I'm just going to rap about how good I am at rapping and then go back to rapping about what I was previously rapping about.
Yeah.
But it always sounds weird when you lock into a set on Rinse or Pyro and he's on the mic for a good 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Rapping bars about how good he's at rapping. I've got 16s like this. My verse will make man do this. Okay, but just rap the verse.
You know what? It's actually a shame that I feel like some people feel like that's all they got to say, man.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's a shame because I know it's not.
Yeah.
For everyone, I know it's not. You know what I'm saying? But it is annoying. But I'm guilty of it as well. So I don't know what to say. But
I feel like my other pet peeve when it comes to lyricism is ham-fisted punchlines, where they're blatantly trying to force it. Specifically, you know those like phonetic ones?
Yeah.
Where they're trying to make they're pronouncing the word in a certain way to make it sound like two different things, and it always just comes up. I hate those.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. I hate them as well.
So much. Do you have like a lyricism pet peeve, like one of those?
Bro, it's both the ones that you said. It's actually both the ones that you said, but I've actually been guilty of doing both of them.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what it is, yeah? I feel like even when it comes to like rap and hip hop, there's like purist listeners, innit?
Yeah.
And I feel like you're probably leaning to the purist side, innit? Yeah. Sorry, no offense.
Maybe.
I feel like, and when I say the purist side, it's kind of like no grace in terms of, like this is what's good, and you need to be up to the standard of what's good if you want to call yourself a good rapper. Do you get what I'm saying? Which I think
sometimes, yeah,
which I
do
think
feel
is
that.
completely valid, but I don't know. Recently, I can't lie, my mindset's been changing a bit towards all of that stuff slowly. Like I used to be more of a purist and like really strict about rapping and really harsh on rappers that ain't rapping right. Do you get what I'm saying? But now I'm slowly starting to see that there's some people that I feel like they sound like they can't rap and they're doing it on purpose.
I think I've really, even then, I think it's because in the UK specifically, weirdly enough, I don't know why everyone's acting brand new, but unorthodox flows have always been a thing.
Yeah, 100%.
People have always sat in weird pockets. Yeah. President T is a brilliant example.
Yeah.
The pockets he sits in, if you listen to like any other rapper, it would sound really weird.
Yeah.
DEE is very unorthodox in the pockets he sits in. Window Kid, for example, local. Flirta D, another one.
Yeah.
They just sit in very unorthodox pockets. So I've always had a grace for that, which is why like I do very much like the new kids coming up with kind of the very new jazz, super trap sort of stuff, kind of Flint rap, them like Detroit type beats. And I do like how it's like, okay, this is a challenge because of how the beats are. You've got to find really weird pockets to sit in.
Yeah.
And I do like that. How much of how you craft lyrics revolves around pockets? I guess pockets is an interesting discussion.
Yeah, kind of. I would say almost like 90%. 90%. Bro, even when I'm writing, yeah. You know how like when you listen to a beat, in the bar there's 4 beats, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I'm writing, I've already like if I'm writing on a piece of paper, which nowadays I write on my phone more so, but basically when I was writing on a piece of paper, I would draw them dots.
Oh, you would okay.
I'll put them as dots.
So you know which beat each like word
is sitting on.
Okay.
So it's like even now I'm writing on my phone and I can't do the dots. If a word is falling on the beat, like 1, 2, 3, 4, that word will be in all capitals.
Okay.
Yeah? And if a beat is passing and no word is being said at that time, I'll just leave a dot.
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking at my phone, if it's in small case, then I know.
That's how you remember what the flows are.
That's how I remember the flows.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So if I look at that bar in 10 years and I've never heard it since then, for 10 years, I'll be able to rap it because I've got it written. Like it's like writing sheet music.
Yeah. That's really. I've never heard someone do it.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else that does it as well.
That's a really interesting way of doing it because that's like almost in a way how some people rap in that way, but they probably don't write in that way on purpose, but it just comes out that way.
Yeah, because they just for them it's a feeling, but for me it's a science. Like for me, like what I was saying to you earlier, it was like more maths, it's more science in terms of like I'm spotting patterns and sequences with the rhyme scheme. So it's like I'm noticing, cool, if capital, you know what I'm saying? It's like a pattern, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like I can repeat flows, I can repeat, like I could match the syllables of a whole line.
Yeah.
Keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? I could just do half of it. I could do a third of it and do it in thirds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it gives a different kind of flow and different effect. So it's like they come out and they probably sound like it's a feeling, but really and truly, when I'm writing them, I'm writing a mathematical pattern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I'll end on 2 questions. The first one, when it comes to like a literary device that you love seeing executed when it comes to lyricism, what's probably your favorite and who have you heard it be done by?
Bro, you know what? I like all of them if they're done well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like Papoose, Alphabetical Slaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
AM from AM and Skank.
Yeah.
He done a version of that.
Version,
and I can't lie, I thought that was sick.
Yeah.
Because it was culturally relevant and he done it spot on.
Yeah.
Sick. Bro, I like guys that do a whole song of metaphors.
Yeah.
Whole song of punchlines. And for that, bro, I would say, people like Ludacris.
Yeah.
People like me.
Yeah.
And bro, I like battle rappers.
I do like watching a lot of battle rap. I always liked watching like Lunacy, Una Lavos, Shotty Horror, a lot of those guys, and then a couple of the American guys as well. But I did enjoy watching a lot of battle rap.
I can't lie. When it comes to punchlines, I would say a lot of my sources come from watching battle rappers.
Yeah.
Because they like, they know how to deliver a punchline.
Yeah,
bro.
they have a very unique way of setting up punchlines.
Yeah. So I feel like even when I rap and do the punchline thing, the style is very much like battle rap style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like the last question, if in terms of a lyricist, give me, I guess, 3 in the UK and 3 in the US that you look up to and be like, okay, this is what I try and emulate. This is what I think the pinnacle is. It can be extremely personal because it's very personal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
People will be surprised.
Sorry, bro. Repeat the question because
so a lyricist that you very much try and embody, and you very much think, okay, this is a standard I try and reach. This is what I think the pinnacle is.
Cool.
Or even it's just like, oh, there's a very specific thing that they do really well, and I want to try and do that.
Yeah. So
3 UK and 3 US.
Cool. So one of the US ones for me these days. I don't know how you're gonna feel about this. You might be thrown off by this, yeah. But right now, I'm really liking Kodak Black's.
No, it makes sense. I hear it.
Yeah,
it makes sense. I hear it. I hear it.
Yeah, so,
I instantly hear it.
Yeah, Kodak Black. Right now, probably my favorite artist potentially.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I would say that's based off of the vulnerability, the imagery, and also the freedom that he seems to have when he's writing.
Yeah.
And when I say freedom, I mean like he'll do a mad flow, crazy flow for a random number of bars, like 3 bars, like not even in 4s or 2s, like 5 bars will do the crazy flow, then switch to a next melody, then speak about some next poetic thing, then describe a situation with, you know what I'm saying? And
he throws you curveballs.
Yeah, literally. It's like, and he's not really following a pattern, but he's expressing and exploring a lot of different creative stuff in one song, one verse, all the time, consistently.
Kodak is very much the kind of rapper that I like to say is like method to the madness. Yeah,
for me, he's like a rap star, rock star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Kodak at the moment for me, there's a girl I've been listening to, she's like, I forgot, I think it's called hyperpop, the genre, hyperpop. She's like a emo singer rapper kind of vibes, yeah.
Ashaniko by any chance?
No, her name's Critter.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, she's blowing up right now in America, yeah. And what I'm really rating about her that I want to implement is that she says a lot with saying very little.
Yeah.
So, you know, we was using the example of people that's using like basic vocabulary.
Very concise.
But very concise, getting across strong messages with very few words.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm proper rating that, and that's something I want to learn how to implement myself, like get better at it. And America, you also been listening to? I'm liking, bro, yeah. For me, it might be slightly like a bit over charismatic, but I like it though still. I like the switches. You know, what's that group called, bro? There's 4 of them in it. Are they called Coast? What's that in?
Beast Coast.
I'm not sure, man. They do like, it looks like they're at a podcast table.
Oh, them. Yes.
What are they called again?
I can't remember the name. I remember that. I saw that video go viral.
Yeah, but bro, really I've watched quite a few of their videos, and you know, just the delivery of, like, basically, bro, any line that they're delivering, they're half acting it out with the tones, with the, like, even just their body movements, everything, bro. And it's like,
they're quite Wu-Tang Clan reminiscent.
Yeah. And it's very like, it's very animated.
Yeah.
And so I'm fucking with them right now as well. In the UK, I'll be real, bro, yeah? You know, throughout this whole conversation, you've drawn out like a lot of good UK examples from the top of your head, and I've been mad impressed because sometimes I struggle to pinpoint people like that,
specifically,
but I feel like right now, I would say Joint, Kano and Gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
2 of them together.
Yeah, 2 of them together, because I feel like they're very... Kano and Gets reminds me of me and Stretch in terms of we both complement each other and we both kind of have things that the other doesn't have.
You contrast each other.
Yeah, we contrast and complement at the same time. So I feel like Kano and Gets do that. And but basically, delivery, flows, and getting the point across.
Yeah,
I think these men are very solid at that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I would say them guys. Who am I liking in the UK right now? Bro, you know what? This one's not really so much about literary devices, but more so about kind of, delivery, bro. I'm really liking Kia Keys at the moment.
Yeah, I've always liked him.
Yeah, I'm really liking Kia Keys at the moment, man. I'm liking his vulnerability, the way he's telling his story. Like, he sounds like someone that's tapping into himself and is just giving the audience a very up-to-date, unfiltered version of himself, innit?
I very much liked the concept of his last album with the idea of like falling from grace.
Yeah.
He could have had it all, but he messed it up and now he's trying to claw his way
Fucked
back.
It or something?
Yeah,
it's called Fucked It, innit? Yeah, I listened to it, really good. And who else in the UK have I been listening to? Bro, you know what, I'm not sure, like, this is probably not for my top 3 here, but I did want, like, I wanted to mention earlier, you know, when we was talking about people that sound like they can't rap, but more so it's actually just an unorthodox style. Yeah, I feel like Heady One is someone that's proper grown on me.
Do you know what?
I went from liking him to not liking him to liking him a lot.
Heady One, I knew exactly what was going on and I instantly liked it.
Is it, yeah?
It was off the One mixtape.
The One?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because they obviously, there's the trilogy, so there's like the One, 2, and then the last one that's just dropped. It was off the first one, the One mixtape, which was very much like the beginning. This was no better-ish time. It was like quite a little bit before that. And I remember hearing the pockets it was in. It was when Heady One and RV did their behind bars as well.
Yeah. They had a mixtape together, I think, as well.
Yeah. Drillers and Trappers, that mixtape.
Yeah.
And it's just like the pockets the Heady One sits in. It's almost how effortlessly he just ends up in the pocket. It's like he ended up in the pocket by accident.
Yeah,
but then he keeps doing it over and over again. And like,
so now it's not by accident. Now it's not by accident. Cool. So yeah, that's the thing. When I first heard it, I'm thinking, he's accidentally sounding good a bit too much for me. You know what I'm saying? And now it's, okay, no, that's his style. He raps like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he completely knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's a good one. I can't lie, bro, man. Maybe you need to show me some music, but I feel like in the UK, like lyricism, and, you know what, Cass is dead, definitely, yeah. But I feel like literary devices are being like underused and underappreciated in the UK, man. I can't lie. Maybe I'm not listening to the right stuff, but I feel like in the forefront of the music, being neglected, man. I feel like good writing techniques are being neglected in UK rap at the moment, man. Like,
do you think like people kind of just rap to fill the space? Like people kind of just say, okay, this sounds cool, this fills the space, this is kind of catchy.
It does feel like that sometimes, man. I like Pot of Paper.
Yeah.
I like Pot of Paper. And even then, that's more of like a feeling, imagery. He's got mad skill as well. But to be fair, bro, I want to hear some quirky shit, man. I want to hear some clever shit. Also with some style.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What, who, bro, recommend some people to me, man.
If I was going to say clever with some style, I like Prof. I think he's out of...
Who?
Prof. He's from South London, I think.
Yeah, I don't even know about him.
There's a really cool EP that he did, I think it was like a year or so ago, called Lost in Translation. He's got some new stuff coming out as well, and I really liked it. And it's vulnerable at times, it's braggadocious at times, and it contrasts really well. There was literally a bar, literally goes like, yeah, I used to wear leotards. And it was literally about how, like, I'm now stuck in this crazy ass situation dealing with like almost getting nicked when I used to want to be a gymnast as a kid.
No way.
And
we done ballet.
Yeah, so it's like all those really interesting contrasts that he kind of just throws in his music whilst being very vulnerable at the same time, but also making you chuckle because it's like, this is the last thing I expected to hear from you. Prof is one that I find really interesting.
Bro, I think Ambush is really good.
Yeah, I like Ambush.
Ambush uses literary devices. I can't lie.
Ambush has always been pretty good. And then you've got ones that are sliding more towards the kind of UK hip hop lane. So I've always liked Coops.
What's that?
Coops is, I'm trying to remember if he's from London or the Midlands. I'm not sure. But Coops has always been in like the UK hip hop lane, kind of like the more traditional hip hop lane. So you're a bit more boom bappy. So this is kind of like a high focus record sort of stuff. So this is more like the world of like Jest, who is still rapping and is still as brilliant as ever. When it comes to like the very jazzy sort of rap stuff, Jest is just brilliant. I really like, I think when I first got into Jest, when I first heard Return of the Drifter for the first time, and that song is nuts.
Yeah, you need to send me this stuff, bro. I never heard.
Jest is nuts. And then you've got Chester P. I'm not sure whether he's quite still rapping. He kind of is.
Guy. Was he part of a duo?
Yeah, Task Force.
Yeah.
He was a part of Task Force. I feel like that sort of discipleship is kind of...
I need to listen as well, because someone said that him and whoever he rapped with reminds them of me and Stretcher as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I need to check it out.
Him and Jerma. I feel like what's interesting is that that's brought along a lot of young people that are interested in going that route in that sort of sense. Like, you can argue maybe Lil Kana went that route with the volume of jazzier stuff.
Lil Kana's good as well.
Lil Kana's always been good. And then you've got Black Josh from Manchester. He's great. And then you've got CL Brooks. And you've got Lord Apex as well, that are very much kind of in that sort of jazzier, bluesier sort of rap lane. But then Lord Apex has this really good EP called Smoke Sessions. And it's quite literally as you'd expect from stoner rap music in terms of tone, but in terms of lyrics, it's something where you do have to focus a lot to. So it's very... The contrast is really interesting because it's like, well, you want to sit back and just relax and get high, but then you have to strain your brain and focus whilst you're probably high as a kite. And you're like, wait, this is really hard. But yeah, I feel like he works really well. In the drill scene, I've always liked T-Way.
Yeah, no, with it. He's got mad charisma, mad flows. Yeah, he's sick.
And there's something about drill as drill/grime. It's having a staple punchline that you reuse, but in slightly different ways.
What would you say his one is?
I don't know about retail.
Yeah.
I don't know about retail. He always has, like, every couple of songs, he always says something about not knowing anything about retail, never worked in retail or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's always just very funny because he always surprises you how he uses it.
Bro, you know what? It just came to me because I should have mentioned these names as well. Socks.
Yeah, Socks is cold.
Socks is rhyme schemes, literary devices, ideas, execution of ideas, the mental. And also, punchlines, have to give it to Nines, you know. I can't lie. I feel like people are not really appreciating that my man is actually coming with good punchlines consistently for bare tapes. What you say? You're not
I feel like sometimes he's just punchline heavy.
Punchline heavy, what? And is that a problem for you? You don't like it?
I kind of hate it when it's just ham-fisted and just thrown at me constantly sometimes.
Okay.
Because sometimes I feel like the simile usage is just a bit much.
Bro, do you know what I feel like it is with punchline rap, yeah? There's different levels of people, like a lot of people that say that they like punchline rap, yeah? There's like different levels of people that actually understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there'll be listeners that feel like they like punchline rap, but really and truly, they're only understanding the basic punchlines.
Yeah.
And I feel like, in the punchline world, there's like easy, medium, and hard. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, and I feel like the good punchline rappers are exploring all three to make everyone happy at some point. You know what I mean? And I feel like he's one of them.
I feel like it also comes down to cultural references because if you don't understand the culture which he sits in, you're not gonna get half the punchlines anyway.
Yeah, true.
Which is why I find They Not Like Us a really funny diss track.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the references that he's talking about, the people he's aiming the song at, won't get it, which I find hilarious. Which kind of just adds a whole extra layer to that song anyway.
Yeah. So people can enjoy it like ignorantly kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, No, I'm with it, man.
Well, I think we've gotten a lot out of this, so I think we'll call it here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having this conversation. Everyone go stream Pop, out now, all digital platforms, and the music videos out as well.
Yeah. Make sure you Pop in. Pop's got heavy alliteration. The word pop, not only alliteration, it's got anaphora, epistrophe, using the same word at the beginning of the sentence, end of the sentence, starting bare words with the letter P. Active, man.
All right, cool. Thanks very much.
Love, man. Bro, thank you.